If you are a company that's had to complete a Form W8BE for the IRS to stop your overseas US income having 30% withholding tax levied on that, then you will know that if your company is made up of you, a single member, single shareholder company, the IRS, the US government, do not recognise single member companies as corporations. Corporations being the term that Americans use to represent companies. The two additional forms that you need to complete, Forms SS-4 and Forms 8832, need to be completed and duly submitted to the IRS for that reclassification to occur. In this video, I'm going to outline what those forms look like, how to complete them, and demonstrate the information that needs to go in there for the majority of single member companies to be reclassified. Hi folks, welcome to another weekly episode on I Hate Numbers, the channel that's there with a mission to improve your financial awareness, help you and your business save more tax, make more profit, and save time in your business. In over 27 years of being in business, I've helped thousands of businesses achieve that objective. And as an accountant and proud author of I Hate Numbers, I'm here to help you in your business. Let's go over and see and check out those forms. In order for our company, our single member company, single shareholding company, to be formally recognised as a company in the United States, or a corporation as the Americans would call it, we have to complete SS4 first of all, before we then go on to the supplementary form 8832. SS4, by the way folks, is available freely from the IRS website. Check out the show notes and I'll give you a link to the IRS site. It's an online fillable form. You can obviously print it off, fill it in and then submit. Now box 1 is the legal name as it's formally registered with the regulatory bodies. In the United Kingdom, that regulatory body is Companies House. And make sure you write down the full name as it's registered with the authority. Now, if you happen to use a completely different name to trade with, which is quite common, then put that in box 2. Boxes 4A and 4B are your contact address details, usual things as we'd expect on a form of this nature in any form, and that's going to be the name of the building, if there is one, the address, make sure it's complete, and in box 4B you put the city in which your company is based, the state and the zip code, and the zip code is the American version of our postal code. Again, don't limit, make sure that all the complete details are put in there. Now box 6, the county and state where your principal business is located. Effectively, as a UK company, don't use the abbreviations, put in full United Kingdom. Boxes 7A is largely the contact person, the responsible party for that company, and in this context is myself, Mahmood Reza. Now box 7B, there are 3 numbers, or choice of 3 numbers that you can select. SSN is Social Security number. Typically that would be applicable to those businesses that are registered in the United States, trade in the United States. EIN applications is not just for single member companies, even though that's what we're focusing on in this video. It could be if you're a US company that's about to employ individuals, you need to get an EIN. ITIN, which is the one that I'm going for, is the International Tax Identification Number. In normal speak, the ITIN would be your self-assessment unique tax reference that you're quoting there. If for any reason, by the way, you don't have a UTR, a unique tax reference, if you're not registered in the UK, then the national insurance number will be sufficient. The EIN, by the way, is the employee's identification number, so you need to make sure you put a tax identifier. If you don't have these parts of the form completed, by the way, it will be rejected. When we come to 8A, is the application for a limited liability company? And the answer is yes, because remember, single member companies are not recognised as corporations in the United States. And what we're doing is, having completed the W8BE form, we need to make sure we apply for the status as a single member company to be recognised as a corporation. So I've ticked box yes, and box 8B is how many members, i.e. how many shareholders do you have in your company. In this situation, I've said 1 because I'm applying as a single member, and ultimately what I want the US and the IRS to do is to reclassify and recognise my company as a corporation. Lastly, box 8C in this part of the form is if your company was incorporated in the US, you tick yes. If it's not incorporated in the US, then tick no. Now we come to the bottom part of the form. Now box 9A, it looks quite overwhelming, doesn't it, with all those different options. If we are applying as a single member company, then we're going to be ticking the box other and enter in the wording foreign disregarded entity. For those who have to complete an EIN, by the way, if you're US based, our focus is on being reclassified as a single member company, and therefore we're going to tick other and write in the wording foreign disregarded entity. 9B, we're now going to specify the country in which we are incorporated, and in my example I'm going to select United Kingdom. Now box 10, IRS want to know why are you completing this form. There are a number of different options given. We're not employing staff, that's not the reason we're applying for the EIN, it's because we want to be reclassified, so tick the box other and again fill in foreign disregarded entity, and we need this number to help us complete the last form, which is 8832. So wording wise, I've said foreign disregarded entity for purposes of filling form 8832. The last few boxes to complete is boxes 16, where I'm going to select the principal activity of my business. Now in this example scenario, the information that I've completed, I'm going to put the information in for Numbers Know-How, a financial storytelling platform, and I'm going to tick other and then write that in accordingly. Find the one that best suits your circumstances, that best fits, and give the IRS some indication of what your business is all about. Box 17, I've just given a bit more of a description, a bit more of a narrative behind the business. And then last few boxes, box 18, have I ever applied for EIN before? In this example, I've said no. If you have applied for one before, tick yes, and then write that previous number there. In this example, if it's your first time application, select no. Now, if you are having an agent help you complete this form, so your accountant's going to be helping you or another third party, then that's what's known as a designee. Put in their details there accordingly. So Numbers Hero is my made up agent's name, my address of my agent, their contact details. Remember to put the international dialing code prefix in there. Fax number. IRS, by the way, do communicate via fax, so it is a useful thing to connect via. Put your phone details, as I said, with the international dialing code. The last thing, you need to sign it and you need to date it. So I am the applicant, it's my single member company, so I put my name in there, I've signed it, I've put the date. Now the date I've put in, month, day and year. If you have a fax number, obviously include that as well. So that's the first section done. That's the SS form. Now the number of ways that you can submit that, you can submit it via fax, you can post it out, and you can also ring up the IRS directly with the form being submitted, and they will actually be able to give you the EIN number over the phone. Now bear in mind folks, the IRS, like most tax jurisdictions around the world, have resource pressures, so don't expect to get the phone call answered straight away if you are going to ring. So again, calling is fine, you can fax the information across to them, and again, if you check the show notes, I'll give you a link to, if an agent is submitting on your behalf, they need to be duly recognised and have that authority submitted to the IRS. Having received your EIN number, having completed and submitted SS4, and logically you cannot complete 8832 until you've applied for your employer identification number. Once that comes back, enter it onto form 8832, enter in the name and contact details of your company. On the first box, make sure it's the full formal name as registered with the regulator, insert the remaining contact details and add the postal code or zip code to our American cousins. On part 1 of the election information, you're going to select A. This form, also freely available by the IRS by the way, is a fillable PDF form, so you can fill most of it on your computer and then print off, sign and submit. 2A, assuming that you haven't filed an election in the last 5 years, tick no and then go straight to question 3. Here we're talking about a single member company, so you're going to tick no. Later on, by the way, you will have the option to make about whether you want to choose to be taxed as a corporation, what we might just call a limited company in the United Kingdom, or to be disregarded as a separate entity. A disregarded entity, folks, by the way, is a business with a single owner that is not separate from the owner for US federal income tax purposes. Question 4, put in your own personal name and then add in your tax identification number. For most UK companies, this will be their personal tax reference number, their UTR as it might be called. If you don't have one and you're based in the United Kingdom, a national insurance number will be sufficient. If you're based anywhere else in the world, then whatever your identification number is in a personal capacity with your tax authorities is the one that you must enter. And now we come to the final part of the form. We then have 6 options. On the grounds that we're looking at an overseas, a foreign entity, we're going to have the options between D, E and F. I've selected here option D on the grounds that my UK company wishes to be treated as an equivalent corporation in the United States. So I've opted for D. If you go for E, obviously that means you're applying as a partnership. Now F is if you wish to be disregarded as a separate entity, and that's for most companies. Lastly, box 7, United Kingdom, do not use the abbreviations UK. And lastly, 8, remember to put the US format in for the date. That's the month, the day, followed by the year, again in 4 digits. Lastly, contact details. I have put you as the single member. If you are going to be using an agent and making sure agent's authority is submitted, that's the details you're going to be putting in there. And lastly, sign it. Now in this form, by the way, you have the option of backdating it up to 90 days. So in box 8, I've backdated it to the 1st of June, but you can go back up to 90 days. Folks, I hope you found that useful. That's forms SS4 and 8832, but that's what you need to do if you are a single member company that has income from the United States. If you wish to avoid the 30% withholding tax and you wish to be treated as a corporation as you would do in your own domestic territory, then you must complete SS4 and 8832. If you found it useful, I'd love it if you could share, subscribe to the channel, and if you found it useful and there's friends, connections of yours that are in a similar position, I'd love it if you could share it with them. Folks, until next time.